PW Hustle Networks present PWR at the Movies. Join the Professor, Tommy Wonder, and JB as they discuss the greatest pro wrestling moments in movie history.
You're a big-time music business personal manager. Maybe a little down on your luck. But you're working on a big deal. Maybe things will change for you.
Hi. What do you want from me?
$67,811.19 to be very specific.
You're making the big moves.
Hey, Scotty, how you doing? No, whatever it is, the answer is absolutely not. I've been thinking about our relationship.
What relationship?
Message for you, Mr. Smilack.
But things could be better. Maybe you ought to branch out a little.
I need someone who takes no crap. Tough.
Maybe you're on your way back to the top.
Smilack, at your service.
We've got something for you.
What's that?
From the director of Smokey and the Bandit, Body Slam.
What? Do something! Stay right there.
It's the outrageous comedy where wrestling meets rock and roll, and a loser becomes a legend.
You don't need music to wrestle. You need big one.
Smilack, what is that, a stomach disorder or a disease?
Wait, no, wait.
How about this, Mr. Smilack?
I should have stayed in the music business.
You're a dead man, Smilack. And you heard it here, folks, on Recall. For the greatest wrestler, two top managers. I can't know about you, but I can't.
Body Slam, starring the A-Team's Dirk Benedict, Tanya Roberts, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Tonga Tom, Captain Lou Albano, and a host of familiar faces, twisted arms, broken legs, stubbed toes, fractured thumbs, aching backs, and lots of laughs. Body Slam.
It's wrestling.
Hi, Reflectionites. Hello, big Vitoites out there on the Twitch. Hello to the big Vitoites on the Patreons. Hello to the big Vitoites on the Twitters. Hello to the Magnificent 7, the Elite 8, the Naughty 9, the Terrific 10, the Essential 11, and every point in between. It is your friendly neighborhood professor, Chabeva Cruz, welcoming you to the PWR podcast here at the PWR Networks at podbean.com, and also on the Big Vito brands on your Patreons and on your Twitches. Look for it, Google it, and learn from it because it helps you get through the days. You know, guess what? Bill Gates is gonna have to Google divorce lawyers. You know, he's gonna lose half his money. So, you know, she's gonna get half, and I feel sorry for Bill. I don't know why, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Welcome to PWR Goes to the Movies. I forget what number this is, but it's probably number 6 or number 7 because we've done a couple. We've done the No Holds Barred. We've done the Ready to Rumbles. We've done Hulk Hogan Baywatch episodes. We've done The Wrestler. And now we're going back to the movies to do what I've been wanting to do since we started the movie trend here at the PWR Networks at podbean.com. We are going to talk about Body Slam. But before I do that, I must introduce my man. You know, no, he's not sleeping on the Twitchites. No, he's not sleeping for the Big Vito brand on the Twitch. Because if he was sleeping, I'd hear him snoring because he's got that body mass to really snore. But he is your friend and mine, the conservative liberal, the man that calls it right down the middle, the Bob Mackey, the Gorilla Monsoon, the Lord Alfred Hayes of the PWR podcast, wearing the Ultimate Warrior cap. Your friend and mine, the idiot of the Dum Dum Duos, Mr. Wonderful, Tommy Strong, a.k.a. the Tommy Wonder. And now he's snarling.
Hey, we also did They Live, episode of Thunder in Paradise.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure other stuff too. So I'm sure we're at least at 7.
Yeah, we are at least at 7. But I lost count. That's what it was. I think we're on number 7 for the movie sagas here. So that's what it is.
This out of the way right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is hands down my favorite one. Of all the ones we've done, of all the ones I've watched, this is the one I enjoyed from start to finish. Well, I do have one problem with it, but start to finish, I enjoyed this movie immensely. I'm a huge fan of Dirk Benedict because of both Battlestar Galactica and the A-Team, and then, of course, Body Slam. What's not to love? The guy should have... You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
I should say this guy reminds me of Dirk Benedict because this Dirk Benedict is a legend before this guy. Eric Bischoff. Every time I see Eric Bischoff, old school Eric Bischoff, not gray hair, he remind me of Dirk Benedict. Also, he had the hair like Apollo.
Right.
Starbuck and Apollo had a baby. That's Eric Bischoff.
You know what? If you look at it, Reflection Nights out there, yeah, it is an Eric Bischoff from the 90s. It is an Eric Bischoff from the WCW days with the slick hairbacks and conning the wrestling world as what he did to become the biggest man in professional wrestling. But yes, are you ribbing the Reflection Nights, TW? Are you ribbing the professor saying that this is your most enjoyable movie episode that we've done?
100%. Like The Wrestler, I talked about it when we did it. I had issues with it when it came on. Watching it the second time, I appreciate it for what it was way more. And I enjoy it. I don't think I could watch The Wrestler over and over again, which the same can be said for Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is one of my favorite movies ever. I can't watch it over and over again because once you know, you know.
Right.
Whereas Body Slam is just a feel-good... I mean, there's so many cameos in that damn movie that you're just like, wow, And
we'll get into that.
Roddy's soul, God rest Tanya Roberts' soul. And it's just a feel good movie. There's nothing to watch it is to just enjoy it and to escape for an hour and 36 minutes. It wasn't there was politics in it, but they didn't tell you what side was whatever, and it's very minuscule. But it is what media or what entertainment is supposed to be. It is an escape from the shitty world we live in. And for 1 hour and 36 minutes, that's what Body Slam did for me, on top of taking me down memory lane. I loved this movie as a kid because it came out in 86. That's basically right around the time I started watching wrestling. So it to me, it was Kid and Candy Store, and it's kayfabe. Like, it's presented as real. So there's nothing bad about this movie to me at all, except for one thing.
No. Well, hold that hold that critique right now, because before we even get into the movie of Body Slam that came out in 1986, we got to get all the logistics out the way. But I got to ask you this question, because I asked you this with No Holds Barred. I asked you this with Ready to Rumble. And you remember this question, TW? I've always talked about the timing of the movie. Like you said, No Holds Barred, it came at the tail end of Hulkamania where the popularity was waning. Ready to Rumble, it came at the tail end of the Monday Night Wars where, WCW was floundering and it wasn't as popular as it was. So, how successful those two movies could have been if it was a year earlier or 2 years earlier. But this movie, we cannot argue, TW, that it came at technically the right time. It came at the rockin' wrestling years. 1984, 1985, 1986. So I can't say did it come at a bad time. But I will say this. I have a conspiracy theory. So this might not be a question to you, TW, but maybe you can retort back from my conspiracy theory here. Now, let's go like TW. You know how hip-hop and rap was so popular in the early 80s. It was coming up. You heard it on the radio. You heard, Sugar Hill. You heard it on the radios. You heard it on mainstream radio, mainstream TV. It was coming up. But corporate America, you know how evil corporate America is. They try to oversaturate it, dumb it down. And when you had like 75-year-old grandmas rapping on things, they were trying to turn hip-hop into something that it wasn't. They were trying to make people get mad at hip-hop, and so we could go into another genre, or we go into another flavor of the moment. But we, the streets, refused to let hip-hop go. But the only thing that was a casualty was breakdancing, and breakdancing had to be the fallback. The casualty, breaking one, breaking two, that kind of sucked. But that was
I loved them both then. I probably would hate them now.
No. But that is.
In the theater.
But those were examples of corporate America trying to dumb down something. This to me with Body Slam, I understand the nostalgic feeling. I understand the escapism. You are so right on the button. There's no politics here, really. There's nothing. You can escape, and the kayfabe was alive and well. But to me, this was even the cast of characters, even the cameos that we're going to talk about here. It felt like corporate America was just trying to take advantage of, wrestling, getting that mainstream push because of Vince McMahon, because of WrestleMania, because of the NWA. And they were trying to dumb it down, oversaturate it with something that they thought that could make fans turn away. What say you?
I will say the reason you probably think that, I disagree for one reason. Corporate America had nothing to do with this movie, or it would have had better writers, better directors, and probably bigger stars.
No, I'm using a symbolism. It's the symbolism
I think what this is, and I would think the same for the rap industry, especially later on with like stuff with Hammer, Young MC, and Vanilla Ice, where I think it's America or Hollywood or whoever trying to ride the lightning, trying to take advantage of it. And perfect example of corporate America doing something would be No Holds Barred, because they did put the juggernaut behind it, and they did push it, and they advertised it, and it was garbage, right?
Okay.
They just, and to me, it's them saying, oh, wrestling fans will watch anything, right? If it's Hulk Hogan, they'll watch it, and they were wrong, right? So with Body Slam, this almost comes off as a made-for-TV movie. It doesn't feel like something you would have saw in the theater, right? It just feels low budget. It doesn't feel like anybody. I thought you were going to go a different spin, and how I talked about Ted Turner last week. I thought you were going to say someone low budget had to make this movie because Hollywood wouldn't go near it. Hollywood money wouldn't go near it because of the stigma of wrestling. Like, people that watch wrestling are losers, or white trash, or broke or poor, or whatever the case may be. I think it was frowned upon, and I still think it was in '86. It didn't really get like big. I wouldn't say WrestleMania off of the stigma. I would say later on, because if you think about it, WrestleMania 3, biggest one ever until that one in Dallas, and the next 2 years were in Atlantic City. That's small. Like, that's little. That was mind-blowing to me, which I get it, because you can't, like, now they're just like, the hell with it. They go for broke. They go from one big place to the next because they pretty much know someone's coming. Now it is mainstream. You can't, even if there's people on the IWC, YWC making fun of it, it's still mainstream. It's still watched by athletes. It's still watched by musicians and actors. And that show Heels that's coming on now because of that guy from Arrow and the guy from Vikings. It's Hollywood now, wrestling. 86, I think it's starting to be, but I think it was more cable, not that makes sense. Like the Rock and Wrestling was MTV.
Right, but that's the example of, WWF was using MTV the right way. Using, Vince McMahon was using CBS for the cartoon crossover the right way. This is, like you said, if it was low budget or low brow, but they still use the cast of characters to try to take advantage of it. That's why I think I always use the corporate America mentality, that they're trying to oversaturate it and sour it, so this way fans can be like, why are we liking this? Why is this becoming popularized? Why are we co-signing this? You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
You mean wrestling in general?
Yeah, wrestling in general. The wrestling in general.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I think they did it the other way by not touching it. Not getting behind it. Because this shit was low budget. There's no, and how you sent me a link to something. I can't remember what the link was from.
What, the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I sent it off of an app, Tubi TV.
Okay. Okay, so I did watch your link, but not through you. I searched Fire Stick, and it came up, watch it for free on Tubi. So I actually downloaded Tubi to my Fire Stick and watched it that way. Because there was no way in hell I was watching that on my phone. And then when I watched it, it's in standard format, so it's only the middle of the screen. And I was like, ugh, and it had commercials. But I'm telling you, I enjoyed it. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not ribbing anybody.
He's telling the truth. He is telling the truth.
Because, like I said, and again, part of me in 1986 thought this thing was Gone with the Wind, right? So it's different in that I didn't go back thinking it was a great movie then and it's still a great movie now. Like, I say this all the time. If I watch Billy Madison for the first time today, I'm not making it through the whole movie. But watching Billy Madison when I'm the same age as Billy Madison, living the same stupid lifestyle, maybe not of the rich son, you know, but of just an idiot, it's one of my favorite movies ever. It's that, Happy Gilmore, all the Adam Sandler shit. When he makes newer movies now, if it's not family shit like Blended Family or 51st Date, stuff like that, I'm not going to relate to it because I'm 47 years old.
You have your taste. You have your flavor.
Well, that's what it is. It's about relating. I can relate to Swingers in 1994 or 5, whatever year that movie came out. If I watched Swingers for the first time today at 47, I would be like, what is this shit? But because that was my life when I watched it, NHL 94, so it had to be 95 or 96, that resonates. Just like, you know, okay, perfect example, watching Boys in the Hood when I was a kid, that age, great movie. Watching Straight Outta Compton, because now you're watching a movie about people that you liked back when you were a kid, right? It's almost a documentary, but acted out instead of talked about. So, yes, with the taste and all that. I know that I watched Body Slam for the first time at 47 and talk about it as nicely as I am now, but it was a nice distraction from reality. It was harmless. It was, like I say, music sometimes is ear candy. It was eye candy, ear candy. It was, you watched it, it felt good. Like, seeing Piper like that is different for me. Like, even today watching it, I watched the rest of it today. I watched most of it last night. But Piper as a babyface was just weird, you know, because 86, he's not really a babyface yet. He's
it was 6 months he was a heel and 6 months he was a babyface in technical terms.
Like, towards the end of his career and his life, he was a babyface, whether he wanted to be or not. He just was an icon who people refused to boo. And he's no Mitt Romney. And so watching him back then as a kid in 86, I mean, 85, he's fighting against Piper or against Hogan and Mr. T. 86, he's fighting Mr. T. So 87 is when he fought Adrian Adonis at the Silver Dome, and he turned babyface. But you had to turn babyface. He had a movie. And I don't know if it was a bomb. I'm going to assume you're going to tell me it was a bomb at the box office, but...
You know, the logistics of this, you know, I can't even laugh at Body Slam because, you know, it was almost doomed to fail because of all the politics behind the scenes. It was produced by Hal Needham. And this is a fun fact here, TW. That's a funny fun fact. That's a good word here to say. But Hal Needham and Dirk Benedict actually fought the producers. It was a tongue twister, but Hal Needham, the producer, and Dirk Benedict, the star of Body Slam, actually fist fought producers of the studio because they changed the script on them. This could have been a better movie. This could have been a darker movie. This could have been a more serious movie. This could have been a movie that could have paid homage to wrestling in the right light. Who knows? But anyway, neither here nor there. So it never got released theatrically. So I can't give you the money. I can't give you the money situation. It was released straight to VHS and Betamax in November of 1986. And you know they don't have the numbers when it came out straight to video. It's definitely a dud because, you know, it probably was, let's say that's too expensive. $2 million to produce. So they couldn't even make that money back. They actually lost money producing this lowbrow movie. So TW, what do you think about that? Wrestling was already, you know, a black sheep in Hollywood, and they didn't even give it a chance.
I feel even more strongly about what I said to you. They weren't getting behind it to sabotage it.
Well, maybe Dirk Benedict said, you are trying to sabotage this movie by changing the script on us. We didn't even like the final product here. But anyway, neither here nor there. You have your opinion. I have my opinion.
The ending makes perfect sense now to me.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that in greater detail.
I'm just going to give you a segue. I'm not going to say what it is, but there's something that happens right before the final scene. And then when the final scene happens, they never go back to it. So you never know outcome of it, to me, it feels like they just hurried up and put together what they had, and they're like, that's it. That's the best we can do, and they hadn't finished filming because
they rushed it.
Gag that doesn't pay off. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I get what you're saying, but let's just get into.
He messed his car up.
Right.
He messed his car up. Mm-hmm. And at the end, he does like a switcheroony kind of thing. Yeah. But they never go back to it.
Of course, that's what I was going to talk about at the end. But anyway, let's get it before we even get into the plot and the stories here, Reflection Nights, because this is going to be a quick movie segment here because everything is not about the matches here. It's about the storyline. It's all about Dirk Benedict, A-Team fame. He was face. He's with Mr. T. He's with Hannibal. He's with Murdoch and all that stuff. A-Team in 1986 is a top 10 show. I've watched A-Team on NBC on Saturday nights, and I know TW watched A-Team on Saturday nights on NBC. But we have to at least acknowledge...
Was it Saturday night?
It was Saturdays. Definitely Saturdays. It was like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at Saturdays. That's when, it wasn't about Thursdays, TW. It wasn't about, NBC taking over Thursdays, which they did. It was about Saturdays. And that's when TV was TV back then, the good old days. Right. But before we talk about Dirk Benedict and his trials and tribulations in this movie, which is a great segue here, a great segmented storyline here, you talked about the cast of characters. At least let's acknowledge all the wrestlers here. We had Rowdy Roddy Piper. We had the Tonga Kid, Sam Fatu. We had the Wild Samoans acting as bodyguards, for a loan shark. We got Captain Lou Albano, who plays Captain Lou Morano. We got the Cannibals, played by the Barbarian and Tijo Khan of NWA fame. And we had appearances by the NWA champion, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, Bruno Sammartino. We had Freddy Blassie, and we had Sheik Adnan Al-Casey. So TW, this was not a WWF movie. This was not an NWA movie. This was a Hollywood. Maybe Hal Needham was a wrestling fan.
This is starting to sound like a New Jersey movie or North Carolina movie.
No, I'm saying that because, if Vince McMahon was really behind this, he could have been a dick. He could have said, I'm not going to have my guy Rowdy Piper. I'm not going to have my man Tonga Kid or Captain Lou. This is his guys. These are his contracted guys with his vision of going nationwide, taking over the world. I think Vince McMahon saw the bigger picture like you did. Give us more buzz, give us more exposure. Any exposure is great exposure. What say you, TW? Because... there's a war. There's a turf war. NWA and WWF. Your guys and my guys and all that stuff, and they actually collaborated with each other and made it work.
Well, I would think guys do it is winning the war at the time, right? So one thing Vince has done for most of my life until they weren't winning anymore. They never, ever mentioned the competition, ever, right? Whereas NWA or WCW were always taking shots at WWF, relentlessly. And what I equate it to is you never see Burger King in a McDonald's commercial, but you see imitation McDonald, Ronald the Clown in Burger King commercials for my entire life, right? And so you don't ever see Pepsi in a Coke commercial, but your whole life you've seen Coke in a Pepsi commercial. And all you're doing is giving them free ad. One of them, you're still putting Coke's logo in someone's eyes, right? And at some point, I think Pepsi overtook Coke, but I still think Coke's number one today. And same with McDonald's. Burger King's probably not even, I think Taco Bell might even be second or something like that, not Burger King. But anyway, I would say since it was an independent show and since it was Flair and it was, not Flair, since it was Piper and Tonga Kid, I wouldn't doubt that Jim Crockett's like, shit, if we can get our guys on screen for that movie, let's do it. So, for the same reason. Like, even if it is Piper starring in it, we want you to see, and they called him the world heavyweight champion, Ric Flair. They didn't call him former. And they said NWA. Bruno, they said former 15-year world champion. They didn't say WWE or WWF. Obviously, no, they said WWE back then.
Yeah, they didn't say that.
I think those guys are like, it's kind of like, I think I told this story before, Kelly Preston at some point was not getting booked in Hollywood and said, you know what? Instead of taking these low-budget movies where she shows her titties and all that, she would take the smallest part in an A movie before taking the leading role in a B, C, or D movie. And she played Jerry Maguire's ex-girlfriend in the opening scene of Jerry Maguire, right?
And you saw her ass. I don't know. Oh, that was a stunt booty.
Right. But then she's with Bob Sugar the rest of the movie, but she's really not a main character. From that point on, she got booked in bigger movies again, right? Mm-hmm. Because someone saw her in an A movie, whereas the people booking for the next A movie aren't watching B, C, and D movies, right? So it paid off for her. So to put Ric Flair, she got that was WCCW, which he ended up in the WWF eventually. He was the Ayatollah or whatever,
right?
Slaughter and
General Adnan.
Right, that's the guy. Well, yeah. He was right, but I'm saying he was like an Ayatollah with that thing on his head. But anyways, Flair, Bruno, all these guys, I mean, I liked that they were in the audience, but I wouldn't be surprised if Crockett was like, you got to put some of our guys in, if you can get them in there and, say NWA World Champion. And they never called the tag belts the NWA tag belts. They just called them the World Tag Team Championships, which I thought was another cool thing, that they were doing it that way instead of one guy chasing. It actually felt better that it was a tag team. That they were buddies and they were in it together.
We'll get into, in this movie, wrestling is real. There's no kayfabe. This is, all the booking and all this stuff. We'll get into that Reflectionites. But now let's get into the crust of this movie. It revolves around Dirk Benedict's character, Harry Smilack, the down-on-his-luck music manager who had the Midas touch. He probably was, in his world, in his dreams, he managed Madonna. He managed Michael Jackson. He managed Lionel Richie. He managed Van Halen. You name it, TW, he had something to do with their successes. But for some strange reason, Harry Smilack was on the downturn. Harry Smilack was down on his luck. Harry Smilack couldn't book a flea market, TW. And, and because of that bad luck, the Dairy Queen, as what Kick said, and that's one of his only musical acts that he has here. Because of this, TW, he cannot afford his house. He cannot afford his Ferraris. And he has to take a loan from the Korean Savings and Loans, where we get introduced to the Wild Samoans. And I forget the Korean guy's name, but he calls him Harry Smilack, because he owes him 60. He owes Harry Smilack owes the Korean National Bank, which is illegal, $68,000. TW. I cry when I hear that term, because $68,000 in 1986 financial times, that's like owing $300,000 on a home. TW. You felt for Harry Smilack, didn't you?
Absolutely. He's Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff is good at selling himself, and not as a prostitute, but like he believed in himself, so you believed in him, and he did. No. Actually, because of what I just said, he's more like Paul Heyman. He didn't have the money. Yeah. The checks bounced, but you believed in him. You believed in him eventually.
Not Paulie.
Eric Bischoff had someone else's money. Yeah. And that's what Benedict was doing throughout this movie, was using other people, tricking people into giving them their cars, doing stuff like that. Like, he completely worked everyone. But, yeah, that's perfect. Paul Heyman is right. But I meant, you look at him and think, right. Like, he gets you. Even the flea market guy, he's like, he's like, what a show, after not wanting to work with him, on a second date and all that. So what are you going to do? But right.
So we try to get into this movie here while Harry Smilack cannot pay for anything. He can't even pay for a McDonald's Happy Meal. That's how bad it gets here. Harry Smilack makes a deal with his lawyers, his personal lawyer, who's actually charging him $450 an hour, Reflectionites. He needs to book entertainment for a gubernatorial candidate. We don't know if he's a Republican. We don't know if he's a Democrat, a Libertarian. Who gives a fuck? He has to book the entertainment. And you can tell TW that this gubernatorial candidate, he's snobbish. He's from the hills, Beverly Hills, and all this stuff. So long story short, while he's trying to wheel and deal and, hustle his way to make it through another day, he, finds his way to another meeting. Some guy named Mr. McMillan, who is actually having a meeting with Quick Rick Roberts, played by Rowdy Roddy Piper.
I didn't even catch his name was McMillan. What a shot at Vince.
It could be. Yeah, you're right. It could be a shot at him. But McMillan is trying to stonewall Quick Rick Roberts into signing a contract that is co-signed by Captain Lou Morano, played by Captain Lou Albano. What a stretch. I don't know if Captain Lou Albano had to take acting classes to try to play Captain Lou Morano, but that's neither here nor there, Reflectionites. But Harry Smilack infiltrates this meeting. He assumes that Roddy Piper is actually a musician. He doesn't know that he is a professional wrestler, TW, and he negotiates a great deal for him. So what say you about, this is the American dream. You hustle your way into meetings. Anybody can have $1 in a dream and make it big. But there's a reality here, TW. I can't go into City Hall and, in the Bombay, New Jersey, and speak to Governor Phil Murphy and the mayor of Newark and all this stuff. I'll get arrested. I'll get tased. I might get shot, and you might have to wear a shirt that says, Professor needs justice. That's what it would be. Could you go into Governor Whitmer's office, knock on her door, and get a meeting, or would you be, handcuffed and going to jail? That's real life for you and I. But Harry Smilack could walk into this meeting. What say you?
I would get handcuffed and tossed down because they'd be like, we seen you on Facebook, motherfucker. But we're the reason you got banned 3 times. But
you be an insurrectionist.
Well, you have to suspend disbelief, and you have to.
I know.
But you know who else he works in this movie? Gomez Adams. He works him for a car.
Oh, yeah. I forgot the guy, Gomez Adams, who plays Stewart, a guy, he hustles a Cadillac, TW. He hustles a Cadillac, a rental Cadillac. This is the greatest. What say you about Dirk Benedict? Because, you saw him in A-Team. He holds a gun, but, his character from A-Team is no different than the character here in Body Slam. He's shrewd. He's a con artist. He's a playboy. He loves he's very attracted to the ladies. So it's not a real stretch between the A-Team Dirk Benedict and the Body Slam Dirk Benedict. What say you before we get into
it's like I always say, whenever I see a movie with Tom Cruise on the screen, I don't give a shit what his name is. I'm like, go Tom Cruise. Right? It's Tom Cruise. Whereas if I see Johnny Depp, whoever he is, that's who I see. I see Edward Scissorhands. I see Ichabod Crane. I see that guy in The Secret Window, the writer. He's different in every movie until Jack Sparrow. Now he's Jack Sparrow in every damn movie. So, but until he became Jack Sparrow, so I would say Tom Cruise is just larger than whatever movie he's in. And so is Johnny Depp. But Johnny Depp being a method actor or whatever, like he was known for pulling his teeth out so that he looked more like a character. Like he would do it himself, grab pliers and pull his teeth out.
He got into the character. I get what you're saying. He gets into his character.
So you're watching the character as opposed to watching Johnny Depp. And I would say Dirk Benedict is Dirk Benedict no matter where I see him, even as Apollo.
Just like Captain Lou Albano, he's Captain Lou. He's Captain Lou Moreno. There is no stretch here. So Dirk Benedict, and you talked about Roddy Piper here. This is 1986. Let's say from January to July, he is a heel. He had his boxing match in WrestleMania 2 against Mr. T. Now from August to December of 86, this is when he started having his tiffs with adorable Adrian Adonis, and they had the barbershop. The Flower Shop versus Piper's Pit. This was a great storyline for WWF purposes. But TW, you said it yourself. I'm 9 years old here. He's producing this movie. He's filming this movie, let's just say. And could I I don't know if I could separate the hot rod, what I saw, beating up Mr. T at WrestleMania 2, and then this movie comes out direct to VHS, and like, wait a minute. I think I saw this movie in 87, which I could suspend the disbelief, because if this movie came out in August or July of 86, and he's full on heel, and the way he acted, he was very, cordial. I felt bad for Roddy Piper. He's likable. He's a likable character here, but the character that he plays in WWF, I don't want to say that I side with wrestlers, like let's say, y'all been on me and Jim Cornette and all the old school guys, Rip Rogers, but they always say you gotta, live the character 24/7. So technically he did not live his character with what he was playing here. Quick Rick Roberts, he has a niece named Missy. He didn't, you felt bad that he was getting hustled by McMillan and hustled by Captain Lou Morano. He wanted to get a good contract so this way he could provide for his niece. What say you, TW?
Right. He's not Piper. He's not Roddy Piper.
Well, he's Quick Rick.
But I don't think when Jim Cornette and those guys are talking about living the character, they mean in the street, not in a movie. Because in a movie you're
but technically
you're not.
No, but technically, isn't this like what you're doing here? Like Captain Lou Albano didn't really break his kayfabe because that's the way he acted, so it was not a stretch. But Rowdy Piper...
Yeah, he did break kayfabe because he wanted to kill people, and by then he's the Bulldogs manager. He's the babyface. He's more like Piper, and Piper's more like him.
Yeah, it could go either way, but I think Hot Rod is the hottest heel. There's a difference between Lou.
Right.
I mean...
No, absolutely. That's what I meant about it. It was weird seeing Piper like this. He was an odd choice to be the babyface. He's better off. You get, instead of Barbarian, which I get it. They were trying to make those guys monsters and unbeatable. Why not have Bob Orton and Roddy Piper be the heel tag team and have Jim Powers be the babyface, and Tonga Kid?
Well, they wanted to make money. They wanted to make money. Wait, you cannot make money with Jim Powers. Come on, TW.
I'd still be in there. Tito or Ricky.
Or Ricky. I go with Ricky Steamboat to be the Quick Rick Roberts character.
But here's another little twist at the end of the day. His tag team partner is the cousin of the guy that made him famous when he busted him in the head with a coconut.
I know. We're going to say... and Dirk Benedict's character, Harry Smilack, hustles, you could say, maybe cajoles a contract out of Tonga Tom. That's his character here. That's his character here in Body Slam. And, he made his deal at Gold's Gym. And it's funny. You're all right, TW, because 2 years ago or even a year ago, Piper and Snuka had a feud. Piper and the Tonga Kid, he decimated the Tonga Kid on Saturday, Superstars on Saturday. He decimated the Tonga Kid at Madison Square Garden shows. He embarrassed him. He ridiculed him. He said a lot of, racist Samoan shit to both of them. And now now Dirk Benedict, the evil genius Dirk Benedict, Harry Smilack got somehow, some way to get Quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom to become a tag team. And their debut was, against two masked men. There was no name. They weren't the Invaders. I thought, well, we'll call them the White Conquistadors here for, logistic purposes, TW. So, the funny thing, when we talk about this match here, let's just talk about their debut match, so to speak, against the tag team. I don't care about the moves that they did. It was, for 80s moves. What I loved about at least this match when I saw it against the White Conquistadors here was the crowd. They were standing on their feet for a headlock. They were standing on their feet for an armbar. I miss those days, TW, where the fans could at least... I don't think fans can be that hype for an armbar in 2021 to TW. We would say boring or get out of that ring. Right. Those fans are what fans should be today in 2021. What say you about the fans here for the debut tag team match of Quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom?
It's a hot crowd. It's a Texas crowd. It's a UWF crowd.
That's a California. No, that was California where they were doing that.
No. I know. I'm just saying the responses is like they're the ones you want to wrestle in front of. They're booing the bad guy and cheering the good guy. Like as a heel, I wanted to get booed. I didn't like coming out there and making people cheer for me because I knew what it was going to lead to, and it did. It led to me becoming a babyface, and I had no ambition to be a babyface whatsoever. It's catch-22. You're happy to get cheered, like because they're cheering you because they like you. Not because you're just going out there and shaking pies and kissing their babies, right? But I liked heels. I wanted to be booed. I wanted two people in the audience to like me, right? So that they would get booed by the other fans, because that's what I did when I was a kid. I would cheer for the bad guy, and the fans would boo me because me and my buddies were cheering for the bad guys. And so to wrestle in front of a crowd like that, I mean, it makes your job easy, right? Like obviously that's a studio crowd. They're told what to do. But sometimes I always watch these shows and I wonder if doing this stuff in front of an actual wrestling crowd, they're like, hey, give us 10 minutes to film some stuff, and they rile the crowd up. You've been to live events where they go to commercial and they tell you, hey, when we come back from commercial, we're going to count down from 5, and we want you to cheer when we go live.
Get loud,
they do stuff like that.
They rehearse the audience. They rehearse the audience.
Yep. And so I think, I like the crowd. I that's what I mean about everything I liked about it was like, that was I like the wrestling where it's dark except for the ring is lit up, or I like it when the whole damn place is lit up, like it looks like world class, like it's just daytime and everyone's wrestling and there's no distractions. Whereas, like one of the things I was just watching NXT earlier, there's so much shit going on behind the ring that it's hard to focus on just the ring. It's a distraction. It's a bad distraction. Yeah, and you got the stupid fence everywhere and that plexiglass, and it's like, what the hell, man? There's stuff everywhere. And same thing with AEW. They got people standing around and whatever, and they got wrestlers acting as fans, rehearsing, singing Judas and all that stuff. So it takes away from the in-ring action, and then it's orchestrated just like crowd noise. Wrestling fans are wrestling fans. They just cheer and they boo and they enjoy it. Yes. So, you know what I've never got into? The shit you guys all love on the damn Hustle page. That Japanese shit. There's no way I never once even thought, because I'm smaller, that probably would have benefited me in Japan. But many people I know went to Japan, to do some stuff. Scott D'Amore was doing it before he ended up making it, getting Impact and all that stuff. But I never had any ambition to go to Japan because I would not know how to work that audience. Like, they just sit there and then they clap. Or they go, ooh, ah, or they do whatever. Granted, I didn't watch it. If I did, I would have figured out what worked the crowd or whatever, but just their reaction, there's no way I would enjoy it. It's a respect factor that you have to get used to. That's all it is. And they're knowledgeable, they'll like you, or they hate you. To me, those guys wrestling in the empty arenas before they had the TV screens, before they had the other workers coming out there as fake fans, those guys wrestling there, if they wrestled in Japan, it was probably that quiet when they wrestled until they got the ooh, or the ah. So those guys probably did great with no audience there, right? You just lie to yourself and tell yourself you're in Japan, but there's no damn way. And by the way, I always bitch about one thing about wrestlers if they don't have them. What are they? Knee pads. I noticed today, and I can't believe I didn't notice this before, but I think Track will tell you it's because I'm too busy looking at her toilet. But Toni Storm does not wear knee pads. Do you care? No. Okay. I didn't even notice. But she's wearing like the fishnet or whatever, so you really can't. Like, it's not just bare leg running around with like a little shoe. Fishnets are the ladies' knee pads that you can pass for it. Yes. But you got to look at the butt. That's what it is. But anyway, I understand what you're getting at. This crowd here was jacked. This crowd here was hyped. Every match that went on in Body Slam, yes, that's a beautiful ass right there of Toni Storm. But every crowd here in Body Slam was jacked to the moon. This wasn't a Japanese crowd, Reflectionites, by a long shot. But you know what? Let's get back into the Dirk Benedict side because, of course, he's he's representing the wrestling side, but he also has the music side. He has to, again, organize this thing for a gubernatorial candidate named Wilshire. But, of course, we meet a vixen by the poolside, TW, so I wanted to at least get that out of the way. Her name is Tanya Roberts, TW. I know you at least rewound that swimming pool scene at least a dozen times before you completed this movie. What say you about the vixen, Tanya Roberts? Well, I hate to break your heart and tell you I did not rewind it because I was afraid if I did, Tubi would start over from the beginning or something. Oh. But to me, because she died so recently, that's the first thing I thought of when I looked at her. So instead of subjectifying her with the elevator eyes, I just was like, man. And then it started me thinking, is Dirk Benedict still alive? And I think he is. But I think he is. I just thought, man, Albano, Piper, her, Tonga Kid's still alive. Steve Riley, I think, is dead or whatever. Charles Riley, the guy who hosted the show.
Yeah.
I think he's passed away. It's just sad. That's the thing. I mean, granted, that's almost 40 years ago. It's 35 years ago. So it's not like it is last week and everybody on there's dead. But when I saw her, not to be a fun governor here, but she looked great. She definitely looked great. And actually, my first thought was, look, you see, A-Team meets Charlie's Angels.
Right.
Like, all right. And I bet you they were hitting it in real life.
Could have been, but also
beautiful fuckers.
But you did not, state the obvious.
What's that?
She didn't have knee pads on. That's what it is. I'm just saying, since you're a sucker for, people not wearing knee pads. She had no knee pads at the pool. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But we get to meet the vixen Tanya Roberts because she's the gubernatorial candidate's daughter here. So, of course, Dirk Benedict also has a music side. He represents a band called Kick. No S, just Kick. And they are a rock and roll band who is booked to play the gubernatorial candidates, mixer dinner or, pollster dinner, whatever you want to call it. And it was an internal flop. Neither here nor there, but of course, this is the downtrodden Harry Smilack trying to hustle his way out of this. But anyway, you talked about Charles Riley here, who plays the character Vic Carson. He is the Johnny Carson of wrestling talk shows, and he hosts a show called Ring Talk. And on this particular Ring Talk, it's Harry Smilack, it's Captain Lou Morano, and a little person named Tim McCluskey, TW. So these are the top three managers, or...
It's Billy Batty.
Billy
Barty.
Well, that's his real name. I'm giving the character name here in the movie.
That guy was in The Wizard of Oz.
Wow.
That the last surviving little person from the little Wizard of Oz.
Wow, and he's in this movie.
I'm almost certain. That's off the top of my head because I've always thought that. I will check it while you finish. I cut you off, but I had to for that guy.
Well, again, if he was the last surviving member of the Wizard of Oz characters, then God bless him. He made it till 1986, so he must have been in his 60s or late 60s to make it that far.
Older than that.
Yeah, could have been older than that. But TW, we were, Ring Talk was the wrestling talk show you had to be on in California, and Harry Smilack made it to the big time. So him, Captain Lou Morano, and Tim McCluskey are all there, and Harry Smilack is trying to sell the public that Quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom are the tag team of the future. And of course, Captain Lou Morano, he has a slew of people, but his main two moneymakers are the World Tag Team Champions for 5 years running, the Cannibals, played by the Barbarian and T-Joe Khan. Now, I saw these guys in the NWA. Barbarian, he was working his way up, and I would kind of call him a little bit of a lower mid-carder. T-Joe Khan, I think he was managed by Paul Jones, if I'm not mistaken, during the NWA heydays. So he was a foot soldier, and he was, like you say, a hand in the business. So TW, before we even talk about those matches, the look of T-Joe Khan, the look of Barbarian, it was Road Warrior-esque, you could say. The Cannibals were Road Warrior-esque when you first look at them, but not a lot of people know the Road Warriors except for the wrestling world. So when you see these dudes, you're like, wait a minute, these look like Mad Max Thunderdome, foot soldiers here. So what are they trying to do here? It doesn't look realistic to maybe the casual eye. What say you about the Cannibals look?
Now, 86, Powers of Pain already existed, right?
No,
it was like
not yet.
Wasn't. I thought
it was 80. It was 80s, 87, 88.
Okay, so T-Joe was there before Warlord got there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I remember T-Joe Khan because again, remember 86. I'm not watching cable yet. Mm-hmm. I remember him from the magazines, and he looked great. Like I want to say, movie is the only time I've ever seen him in a ring because he's done by the time I get cable. Like, I don't think he's around long. If he is, I missed him or forgot him.
No, when
I
the
remembered him when I saw him in this movie.
Right. When the NWA...
I remember that guy.
Yeah, when the NWA was expanding and Jim Crockett took over every NWA quote-unquote territory that needs to be taken over, Tijo Khan was a sacrifice. They couldn't keep him, so he had to go to the other territories like Alabama or Mid-South or whatever, or, Tennessee or whatever, or Kentucky, whatever the case may be. So, the look of the cannibals was very intimidating and all that stuff. But like I said, if, you wanted a visual, it's like, Mad Max, Beyond Thunderdome, those foot soldiers with the mohawks and all that stuff. So, ring talk happens. Captain Lou Morano throws Harry Smilack over the top rope. And, he gets a broken neck. He has a date, he has a lunch date with the Vixen Tanya Roberts with a neck brace on. And he meets again for the second time the Korean National Bank man and his Wild Samoans, Alpha and Sika. And again, the funny thing, we'll talk about, as the movie ends, what should have happened. But Alpha and Sika in the it's funny that the Korean National Bank is the Korean Mafia here, and you got Samoan dudes playing the muscle here, TW. Look at the dynamic. You got a Korean guy, Samoan, muscle, and they're acting like the Italian Mafia. This is stereotypical shit here. What say you, TW?
Well, first I got to correct myself on Billy Barty. He was young enough. He was old enough to have been in The Wizard of Oz, but I believe The Wizard of Oz was 1931 or 39. I think it was 39. Dracula's 31. So he would have been 15 years old for The Wizard of Oz. Probably 14 when they filmed it. Okay. He wasn't in that. He wasn't in it.
Okay.
He was in Bride of Frankenstein, that's 1933. But he was in Under the Rainbow, which was a movie when I was a kid in the 70s. You were probably just born. It was like 78, 79. It was about the midgets from The Wizard of Oz. It was actually, that's what it was.
Is it a documentary about the midgets?
No, it was a movie called Under the Rainbow, but what it was all the surviving Lollipopkins were in that movie, but the whole movie is, I'm sure there's regular sized people in there too, but the whole movie was based on, you can't say midgets anymore, but at the time it was midgets. In 1978 it was midgets.
The Elite 8, the Naughty 9, the Terrific 10, we will forgive you, TW. Go ahead, say midgets. We give you a pass.
So he was in that movie Under the Rainbow, which as a kid to me, calling it Under the Rainbow, telling me that it's all the surviving members from the actual Wizard of Oz movie, to me it was like being on the Wizard of Oz. So I didn't realize he wasn't one of the surviving members. He died in 2000, by the way, December 23rd, 2000. So he had a good run. That makes
He was akin. He probably was akin. He was akin to somebody who played the little people in the Wizard of Oz. That's what it is. So I get the 6 degrees of separation there, but you still got to answer. You got to still answer the stereotype here. We got a Korean guy. We got Samoan muscle. And the Italian Mafia theme here. So it's all stereotypes. I'm going to
start calling you JB, so I'm going to have to disagree with you.
Go ahead.
Because if we're stereotyping, the Korean wouldn't be working with the Samoan. They'd be killing each other.
I know that.
All Samoan or none. This
is the colors of Babylon. That's what it is.
One of the ongoing gags in the movie is him calling him Japanese or Chinese and everything but Korean. And him correcting him all the time. And at the very end, he talks about Egg Foo Young. He goes, that's Chinese, not Japanese. And he goes, Korea! It's like you could not do that today. And also, Billy Barty on Ring Talk says it at least 2 times. Then he says it again on the second episode.
Faggots!
and then Albano says it, and he goes, the guys with earrings. And then Dirk Benedict goes, you mean like the one you're wearing in your ear right there? And he's like, oh, shit. Oh. So but that's a perfect example of, it's funny. No one's being hurt by it. It's just funny, right? They're calling, which I get the logic. Don't come at me with the LGBTQ elemental Ps. But I get the logic that if you call someone who isn't something, you're really ripping on the something, not the person, right?
Right.
But the reality is that's not what someone's doing. Someone's just having fun, teasing someone else. Because what we're going to get in trouble for saying soon is telling someone they're crying like a little girl. It's coming off the table. I'm just predicting it now. Put money on it with dog coins and Bitcoins.
That's been over from 2005.
No, I'm telling you, people in Canada are going to be arrested if they tell someone they're crying like a little girl. They're gonna. Even though little girls cry more than anybody in the fucking world, and if you tell someone they're crying like a little girl, it's true. It's done. You can't say it no more. You're going to be cancel cultured.
But you replace girl with bitch. You cry like a little bitch. That's how you get around that. So now
you're picking on female dogs. You can't do it.
Well, dogs can't complain, and they have no lawyers.
That's the next marriage. That's the next march from legalization of marriage.
Well,
marry your dog.
Well, I have no, if there's any Reflectionites who are into bestiality, go ahead with your bad selves. I ain't gonna...
For sure, Gooch.
Gooch loves the dogs? Okay. I did not know this.
Dogs. Maybe a goat, orangutan, a turkey. I don't know. But he tried.
Do not put the visuals, man. Don't put the visuals in my head. Who's the pitcher and the catcher here between Gooch and the goat?
If Ray really listens to our show, he's going to Photoshop a picture of Gooch and a turkey. I already predict that right now, too.
Okay, Ray. You got it. You got your homework assignment if you want to do it. But anyway... Yes, we have those subtle little stereotypes here. We talk about, Tim McCluskey's F-bomb on Ring Talk. The funny thing, when he drops the F-bomb, so to speak, Ring Talk is seen by millions of people, prime time all over the country, and he got away with that. So that's a funny thing here. But anyway, the match that happened...
Wait a minute, that was a real show?
Yeah, that was Ring Talk. It was a late night or prime time wrestling talk show.
I did not know that was real.
That was their real show for Body Slam.
Oh, I thought you meant it was real life.
No,
they took because Piper says to him, "Oh, it's the #1 syndicated show in America." So I thought you're basically telling me there really was a
his name is Vic Carson. So they took homage to Johnny.
Carson.
Yeah. So they call that Ring Talk was the #1 talk show for sports. Quote unquote sports shows.
Right.
So.
Gotcha.
Now, quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom, Dirk Benedict, with the broken neck.
That's a crazy name, Tonga Tom.
Yeah.
You ain't doing that today.
Right. Well, that's a stereotype in itself, and I can make fun of for hours on the day. But, after all the stuff, the bad date that Harry Smilack has, and the car gets repossessed for the 4th time, he has to go into hiding. He gets in drag. But now, quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom are going into the ring against the Invaders, but they pull a fast one. The promoters, this is where wrestling is real here. The promoters are controlled. There is no promoters. Captain Lou Morano controls the wrestling business in the United States. So he conspires with the Invaders to take the night off, and the Cannibals come, and it's not a sneak attack. It's just a surprise, opponents for Quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom and TW. With weapons and chains. And you know what? The funny thing is, we could talk about the sneak attacks and the chains and, taking them out. But TW, did you hear the commentary? Chick Hearn, Los Angeles Lakers fame commentator Chick Hearn, was the lead play-by-play man for the movie Body Slam. So,
I did not know that.
Yes.
I mean, I knew who it was in the movie. I didn't know he was the Lakers guy.
He's the Laker guy for 80 years. He did it for 80 years, and actually Los Angeles sports.
He must be a wrestling fan then, because there's no way he did that for money. He did that because he was like
for the love.
Wrestling movie.
He did it for the love. But anyway, let's talk about the sneak attack, and they beat down the hero teams, the Cannibals, with the chains. This, and again, we got to go with the crowd. The crowd, cheered for the arm bars and the headlocks from Quick Rick Roberts, but here they booed them out the building, and they couldn't do anything. TW, what say you about the attack from the Cannibals?
Well, this is where the movie starts to get off
track
for me, because in a real wrestling show, this would set up the big match for next week. Like, the reason they lost is because they were taken by surprise. It's still a sneak attack in the fact that you didn't know they were coming out. You didn't prepare for them, all that. It'd be like Floyd Mayweather coming out to fight a guy who's prepared to fight the guy that fought Tyson, Peter McNeely, or whatever the hell that guy's name was.
Okay.
So in real wrestling, that would have been money being printed right there, because instead it blackballs them from the business. They're in the hospital hurt. Ace's face is hurt. Then the next, he's out of the business. He quits at the hospital, and then Piper comes and talks him out of it. So what happens from that point on for me is everything is rushed. Again, you made it all make sense to me. There was probably way more stuff planned.
Right.
That the fist fights probably happened because they wouldn't give them the money to do it. So, because that's what a producer does, is produces money or sets or camera time, whatever. So this should have been where the movie picks up. Instead, this is where it goes down, because I didn't like that that's all it took to make them nothing. You know, and they had already wrestled the Invaders to start the show. The show started with them.
Well, we call them the White Conquistadors, so we can't call them the Invaders.
So, and it's another thing that happens there that is another plot hole, is he tells them, well, if I'm going to manage you guys got to have cool outfits. They still dress the same damn way the rest of the movie until that last match.
Right.
So I don't know if that was spliced wrong and it was supposed to be something he said later or what.
It could have been.
But they never matched until the very end, and they had capes out of nowhere, which they didn't explain. So when those guys came out and beat him up, it was almost like, okay, you're doing it right. You're setting up the big payday. But instead, it runs them out of the business. And I just thought, well, that's weird. Like, Ricky Morton didn't run out of the business. He came back 2 months later with scars on his face and to a packed house to wrestle Ric Flair.
I guess with the production, difficulties that, Harold Needham and Dirk Benedict went against with the studio, you could say, TW, that they had to, mix and match a lot of things. So after the hospital scene, the best way to, like you said, they got blackballed, even though it wasn't a loser leaves, the wrestling business match. They just blackballed themselves, to me, in my opinion. I think they tried to explain the blackballing because of Captain Lou Morano controls the wrestling scene in all the major arenas across the country. I can go with that. I can suspend that disbelief.
But the problem, because he said you're not going to get booked anywhere as long as Captain's running it or whatever.
And that's what it is.
And they did a nice way. They did the tour first.
Well, no. Let's go with this. Harry Smilack, as the Korean mafia guy says, has an epiphany at his house because Roddy Piper's trying to get him back into, managing them, take him to the top, if you will, TW. He gets the idea for a rockin' wrestling where he combines Quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom and his musical band Kick to tour across the country to play, let's just call it the NXT amphitheaters, the NXT, 1,000-seat arenas. And TW, it becomes a huge success. And in one of those scenes, they have another match where they offer $1,000 to any fan that can beat Quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom and the brothers. The Hutchin brothers. One is Pee Wee and one is Big Hutchins, who's 300 pounds. They have a match with Quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom. And technically, this is supposed to be a real fight because, the Hutchin brothers do not know a wrist lock from a wristwatch, TW. So this is this is a shoot. This is dangerous for Roberts and Tonga Tom because they could legit get hurt and there's no insurance. There's no nothing. What say you, TW, about that logistics?
Well,
this is not Andy Kaufman, offering $5,000 to a girl.
Right. And Piper says to him, I don't want to do this because he thinks it's just a skinny guy. And he goes, well, then you got to pay $1,000. And he's like, I don't want to do that. But remember when they first met? He wants 15% with a $500 a week up front.
$500 a week advance.
Was it $5,500? I thought it was $5.
No, $500 advance first.
Yeah. Right. A week.
Well,
And a month. So we're supposed to believe Piper is just loaded, if that's what the case is.
I guess so.
He pulls out a wad of money like he's dealing drugs on the street. And so now they're all down and how did he lose his house? He was being evicted in the first scene.
His manager somehow, some way, gets those continuances. I guess we go with that. But they made it out like they were just loaded. And then now they're wrestling these little lowbrow places to get back in. And then he gives Tanya Roberts the money for if they won that he has before they even win. It's just it's just weird. But again, all of these potholes make more sense when you tell me A, they fist fought the producers, and B, it went straight to video. So I think whoever got stuck with the short straw made what they could of this movie.
And it makes me wonder if Dirk Benedict or Piper or anybody even did any promos for it. Like
they probably did.
Right, which means it was the people they fought that ended up putting this movie out, not Dirk and whoever else. But you're right. It could have been huge.
It could have been huge, but the editor really fucked up the plot holes, like you said, TW. Certain things doesn't make sense. So, long story short, the Rock and Wrestling tours in the NXT amphitheaters is a big success. The Rolling Stone reporter, interviews Harry Smilack. He's on the cover of Rolling Stone, TW. And now Harry Smilack wants more. He's getting greedy. He wants those tag team championships, and they go back on Ring Talk. And he hustles Captain Lou Morano into a winner-take-all, contract for contract, title for contract, and all that stuff. It's a winner-take-all match, TW, back in Los Angeles. So, TW, that was the only good editing part there, with Ring Talk the second time getting into the match for the World Tag Team Championship. And now, this is where it gets funny because of all the... There's more plot holes, TW, here. I'm sorry to say. But, forget about Kick playing, to open the show. The cameo of NWA champion Ric Flair on one side and Bruno Sammartino on the other side of the row is one thing. But yet, when the Cannibals come out to, interrupt Kick playing their set, TW, why is somebody trying to attack Bruno Sammartino? Why is somebody trying to attack, why is a riot going on and there's no cops to stop? The match should never have went on if there was a riot in front row. What say you to TW about that plot hole?
I still am sitting here wondering what caused it. They just all start fighting each other. And it would have made more sense if Casey would have sat with, someone would have sat with Bruno and then those two fought. Bruno and whoever he was with fought Flair and whoever he was with. But they're fighting fans. Everyone's fighting.
They're fighting fans, yes.
And what happens, guess who the organist is?
Who?
Hands Robbie Hart the meatballs for the piano lessons and says, open your hands. And she scoots the meatball in each hand. And he goes, okay. That's a good meatball. That's a good meatball. The little lady.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know who that was. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she's the organist. It's funny because she's the organist in this movie, but she's getting piano lessons in her 90s from Billy Madison in The Wedding Singer.
Oh,
that was her.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
She died within the last 5 or 10 years.
Oh, she lived. God bless. She lived a good. She lived a good life.
I'm gonna look her up. I'm gonna look her ass up because.
No, you don't have to do. You don't have to Google her name now. We got to talk about this movie. We're getting to the.
She's in it.
I'm just saying.
Damn movie.
Yes. Okay. She had a little.
We're gonna talk about Billy Barty. We got to talk about his older sister.
Of course, because we're at the main event. A riot is going down here. Vic Carson is pissed off, and Tim McCluskey uses his cane to hit him over the head because he does not want Vic Carson to go down to ringside to stop Vic Carson is going to stop the Cannibals from stopping Kick from playing their set, TW. That's one plot hole. The second plot hole happens even before everybody enters the ring. The Korean Mafia guys and the Samoan, bodyguards, the Samoan Muscle, the Wild Samoans, interrupt Harry Smilack for a third time here, but Harry Smilack is smart, TW. He positions himself to Captain Lou Morano's Bentley or whatever it was, or Mercedes-Benz, whatever the case may be, TW. So now the Korean Mafia destroys Captain Lou Morano's car. That's all we get, TW. So there's number one plot hole there. So now,
but they don't show them do the car or Albano come find it.
No, because Albano is set on destroying Harry Smilack, Quick Rick Roberts, and Tonga Tom. He's already set in motion there. That's not the plot hole here. The plot hole is what you're talking about. They destroy Captain Lou Morano's car, and they never address it after the match. That could have been an editing scene, but now let's get it. Right. Let's get into the meat. I thought it was going to
be credits. End of the credits is coming up or something. Just so you know, the lady's name is Ellen Albertini Dow, and she died in 2015.
Wow, God bless. She lived
15 years longer than that, Billy Barty, and she was born 11 years before him.
Oh, she was almost 100.
Yeah. No, she was 102, pal.
Wow, 102.
1913 to 2015, she's 102, or at least almost made it to 102.
God bless her. Yeah, that's a good life. I hope I can live to 102. That's what I want. I want to die as a 102-year-old man. Not in movies. I just want to die 102 with some titties in my face, and I can die a happy man. But
you're gonna have some titties on your body. It's not gonna be in your face.
Shut up, TW. But anyway, I'll pay for them at 102. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Now we can get into this match. Now, TW, you said there was a lot of plot holes here. Yeah. Quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom for the contract versus title match. Now they got matching outfits. Now they got robes. Now they're doing everything that Harry Smilack said at the wrong time. This is the biggest moment of their life, their wrestling careers here, to TW, and now they're dressed to the nines. They spared no expense for those robes, and it didn't match me. What say you about even that?
They did, though, finally do the hot tag. They did the wrestling right. The only thing they did wrong, and they actually did it in this match, and they did it in the match with the fans for the $1,000. Two guys cannot pin one guy. It's not legal.
Okay.
It's not even legal in AEW where they do whatever they want. It's not legal there either.
I think NWA, you can use two guys to pin. I think it was a Jim Crockett rule.
Ricky and Robert rule?
Yes, it was the Ricky and Robert rule. That's why they got away with it.
If this was the Scratch and Smith episode, you'd leave the room.
What the hell did you do? Did you have White Castle again?
No, I had broccoli yesterday and the day before.
Wait a minute, you're the idiot, the dum-dum duos eating crap. Why is that messing you up?
Oh, and then McDonald's messed my order today. They gave me the new chicken sandwich with spicy shit all over it. But good thing was, it's not, like, you know how most restaurants, the spice is already in the chicken? It's like in the breading.
Right.
This was on the bun. Like, they just slapped it on both sides, so I wiped it off with a napkin. It was hot, but it wasn't anything near the shit I do in those videos. So, but it made my nose itch, and I think that might be where I got some of this gas. Actually, I ate Chipotle right before we recorded this.
You really living on the edge. But anyway,
I am.
Let's get into this match. They make the save for kick. The drum set's destroyed, the guitar's destroyed, but neither here nor there. The match must go on, and now we got the tag team title match here, TW. And TW, you look at this match for 80s purposes. I like the sound effects, for the punches.
Right.
But that's it. That's all I liked about this match. I thought it was very uncoordinated here, TW. What say you about this match, the main event here? Besides the fact you don't like two guys, pinning a guy. We're not getting to the end. That's the way they want it.
We're not giving the finish away yet?
No, don't give the finish away just yet.
I don't like how it starts, because it starts like with the heat that it should have, right? Like, this is a grudge match. It's weird how we got there, because really this should have been next week after the attack on the week one, or at least next month after they heal. Made the save. It was weird that they played in the ring this time when every other time they played on a stage.
Right.
Because we both know they would have to take down wiring and microphones and all. So that's a stretch. Every time Barbarian stomped the drum or kicked it or put it over his head, I literally pictured myself. I bet you money when they did that live, he hurt himself, like kicking his heel through a drum kit and his calf catching on the back of the drum, or whatever. But I like how it starts. It's basically a Texas Tornado match at the beginning, and then it turns into the pacing of a regular match. The heels take over, open on Tonga Tom's ass. He makes the hot tag.
And don't forget, Harry Smilack finally gets his payoff against Captain Lou Morano by kicking him in the nutsack. So, after all the stuff that Captain Lou Morano did to him, breaking his neck twice. So we got to at least acknowledge that.
It's like, the other thing, other thing is, I guess, again, because of money, and I guess the long story is he was a scared man in the beginning, but now he's tougher. Dirk Benedict never once hated the Samoans at the end there, where they go to wreck Albano's car thinking it's his car. He's still talking shit. And he doesn't even have Piper and Tonga with him.
Right.
Whereas the first time he sees him, he's running away and he backs off. And then the second time he sees him, he runs away and backs off, and they flip the Tanya Roberts' mother's car over the ravine. And then all of a sudden he's walking through the parking lot talking shit. And he was never afraid Korean mob boss.
Of course not, because he had backup. If you wanted to
backup.
If he wanted to, he felt confident, more confident as every week passed by.
If the cannibals are kicking Tonga Tom and Quick Ric's asses, you're telling me the Samoans wouldn't more when they're twice the size of those guys?
Mm-hmm.
So plot holes, but I like the pacing of the match, if you will, and I like everything they did. They, like I said, they made the save. They didn't come to the ring the music. The first weird part was them just coming out and messing with the equipment of the band, but that's right with is when a guy comes out, plays first before he comes out to do a run-in. Why would you do a run-in and play your damn music first if you're trying to do a sneak attack?
Maybe it was the bad. So there was bad editing. There was bad editing in this movie.
Oh no, they come out with no music.
I know.
They came out to interrupt the band, to get heel heat. That's what a heel would do. I liked it.
Right.
And then Piper and Tom come out with no music either. Whereas, for example, my favorite WrestleMania moment, number 2, is the music is what popped me. It's Hogan getting beat down by Papa Shango and Sid, and then you hear, bah, bah, and me and my buddies just up in there jumping around like little girls. And they're crying. Runs out. Well, in that case, that's Warrior giving Hogan a sign from 50 yards away. I'm here for you, brother. If he hears my music, he knows I'm coming. It gives him a second win. But on a heel attack, you would never, ever have your music play first.
Of course not. Of course not.
And so I like that everything about this last match was done how it would have been done in wrestling. They came out and healed on the band. The only thing, there was some also poor editing throughout the tours. Like the first few times that band played, it looked like they were booing them and heckling them. But then they showed the crowd and people are dancing around, including the 2 fans that were in the match.
Well, they were booing the guys getting their comeuppance on Quick Rick and Tonga.
No. I'm talking about throughout the movie, whenever they showed the band performing, it looked like they were being heckled when they showed the band. But then when they showed the audience is cheering.
Well, honestly,
like they were getting
who is
heckled,
Kick? But who is Kick? That's what it is. They got to earn their stripes.
You keep forgetting. They were Kicks. And then Dirk dropped the S because he said, have you ever heard of Kisses? Or, and the guy goes, the Beatles? And he goes, oh yeah. And then he just walks away.
Or the Who's. That's what it was. The Who's.
The Who's, yeah. But yeah, this last match was booked well. Like it was booked by vintage Vince McMahon. It wasn't a Dusty Schmaz.
But the finishing maneuver was stupid. They technically won the tag team titles off a backdrop from Quick Rick Roberts and a double pin with Tonga Tom. Even though Tonga Tom did his flying body press on the Barbarian.
They did the double bulldog first, though. They did the double bulldog.
But then the ending was kind of stupid. It was the backdrop by Quick Rick on Tijo, and then Tonga did his drop kick or flying body press on the Barbarian. Barbarian is now kicked to the side, and then
the backdrop guy should have rolled out, and the drop kick off the top rope should have been the guy taking the pin. And,
I agree.
But they made up for it because they both pin him.
Right, they both pinned him.
One.
Yeah, they both pinned the smaller one. I'm just saying that I did not like the finishing move. That's just me. I'm going logistic here.
No, I agree.
It could have been
done a tag move, but now you're getting ahead of yourself because 1986 is not 2020 Wonder. No one's losing on a backdrop. No one's losing on a drop kick off the top rope. Let's be honest.
Right.
In 1956, if you took a backdrop, out of the territory, you were on to the next territory because someone saw you died when you took that bump. Because back then, you'd lose to a body slam. If you got taken off your feet, the match was over back then. A suplex was a finisher. Because they basically just punched and kicked and
because they were high.
Off the ropes.
But they were high impact moves. I could relate to that. I can understand. I'm just saying for tag team purposes, like the Rock and Roll Express, they won with a double drop kick. The Road Warriors had the the Doomsday device. The Heart Foundation had the Heart Attack. The Midnight Express had the what was it called? The damn. You know the move I'm talking about. It was the Alabama Jam Bobby Eaton off the top rope when Stan Lane. Yeah, so it was that's high.
Los Rudos called that. I got a picture of me and Rico doing it. We called it the drive-by.
There you
drive-by is Los Rudos.
But you understand where I'm talking about. High impact moves. It was Quick Rick Roberts' solo move and a double pin. I did not like that. So anyway, they win. They win the contracts. They win the titles. Captain Lou Morano's out of the business. Harry Smilack's the number one man in wrestling right now, and because of Kick and Rock and Wrestling, he's the number one music man, and those are the ugliest belts I ever seen to end a movie, TW.
They're cardboard.
They're cardboard. They're like backyard cardboard cutouts that, 15-year-old kids would make out of milk cartons. That's how bad those belts look. So TW, and again, the plot hole is Captain Lou Morano and the Cannibals should have committed, attempted murder on the Wild Samoans and the Korean National Bank Mafia guy.
Right.
For destroying his car. So TW.
It would have been a nice sequence to end with like them losing, them going to the locker room, then going to their car and seeing their cars in pieces. And it could have ended like that. Like, damn it, this ain't our day. It's the ultimate comeuppance.
Let me now explain to the Reflectionites and the Elite Eight out there, technically after this match, because if it was booked correctly, like you said, what happened before the attack with the dog collar chains and all that stuff, building to this match here, TW, technically you all go into the locker room and you shake hands and say, we got them, TW. But technically this was supposed to be real bad blood here, TW. So did you like that plot hole?
Yes. No, I liked it. I actually liked that there was no false finish or screw job. The screw job was them getting pummeled in that first encounter. I liked at the end of every program, the babyface should win, unless it's in title matches. Not like that's something that's lost in modern wrestling. Like heels win so often. Someone pointed out, I think on the Hustle page, that every major champion in every promotion is a heel, other than a couple women.
90% is a heel right now. Yeah,
heel champions, and it's like it takes away from the hope. The whole point of wrestling is good versus evil back in the day until the 90s when you got the tweeners, which was fine because it's a different animal. But if you watch a wrestling show now, especially WWE, it's little kids in the audience. You want to see, like right now, it's going to happen. It didn't happen Friday night with Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is a perfect example of it works, right? He just has everything thrown at him, the deck stacked against him. He ends up winning the world title. It's overshadowed by the streak ending. But the Daniel Bryan movement is probably the coolest thing to happen in wrestling in the last 10 years for me. Like as far as organically, just the fans love that dude. There's no. Yeah,
but we gave that to you in 2014. You can't do it in 2021.
No. What I'm saying is Roman Reigns is just mowing through everybody. He's going to when he finally loses, it's going to be something stupid like to The Rock or John Cena or someone big, Braun Strowman switches or whoever. And you could have had somebody like Daniel Bryan, David versus Goliath. You could have had David slay the Giant. And I would hope Cesaro would be the guy who ends up, and he won't, but ends up being the guy to beat Roman, because think of all the years of the IWC, YWC talking about how Cesaro's wasted and they're not using him right. He being the guy to finally beat Roman after Roman's just been on this tape. He pinned two guys at WrestleMania.
Right.
He's unstoppable.
Cesaro is the great example of a Hollywood ending done right. I get you. I get you.
And beating him clean, which is what my whole point bringing him up was. Rick and Tom beat them clean, and there was no chicanery. There was manager stopping other manager. It was hero save the day because the heels are beating up the band to start it all out. Everything about it is what sends the fans home happy.
Right.
It's why the streak was second from last when it should have been last. It's because Vince thought Bryan winning the belt sends people home happy, but people are still stunned from the damn Undertaker losing, right? So it didn't work in that instance.
Right.
But the reason you have the babyface go over the last match is you want people people to go home happy. And now, because of Monday Night Raw and stuff like that, you can have the heel win last, and then people turn on Raw the next day to find out what he's got to say.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, but I like everything about this. I like that booking. I'm not stuck in the 80s. I don't need matches to be like the 80s. I like a little bit of everything. Like, that's why I kicked myself about ECW, because it was a little bit of everything, and I was misled to believe it was all hardcore. And hardcore has never been something for me ever.
If you knew me in the 90s, I would have got you as an ECW mark. It would have been my personal, mission to get you as an ECW mark. But you know what?
Not only that I would have watched it, I would have actually tried to wrestle there.
And you would have
said I would have been killed by the New Jacks and the
you would have been powerbombed on you would have been powerbombed on the flaming table. That's for damn sure. But it would have been worth it. But anyway, we close out with the heroes getting the belts, Harry Smilack getting the woman, and he's getting the Grammy in another couple of months for Kick. So either way, everybody goes home happy here, TW. So, give a quick 1-minute synopsis of what you like. Out of a 10, what do you give Body Slam?
This is not like Gone with the Wind rating. This is entertainment value only.
Yeah.
I will give it an 8. I would give it an 8 because I really, really liked it. I can't give it a 10 because I explained all the plot holes, but even with those plot holes, I was entertained. The only reason I stopped watching it last night is because I took NyQuil and I knew the end was near, so I stopped it. And then I watched an hour and 6 minutes of it last night and the last 30 minutes today. But it wasn't because it was putting me to sleep. It's because that NyQuil was. And I liked everybody in it. There wasn't like, sometimes you watch a movie like, for example, I shared it on Facebook, the new Marvel trailer, and The Eternals has Angelina Jolie in it. So that means every time she's on screen, I'm going to shake my head like, son of a bitch, because there's always someone in a movie you're like, I don't like that person, right? There's no one in this movie that I'm like, come on, get out of here. Get out of here. I like the cameo by Gomez Adams, who's, by the way, that's Frodo's dad, not Frodo, Samwise G's dad. That's him and Patty Dukas, his parents. I like Billy Barty being there. I like the talk show aspect of it. I like everything about it. I watched it if I wasn't a wrestling fan because Dirk Benedict was on it, right? And then Tanya Roberts and just everything about it I liked, and I would happily give it a 10 if it didn't have the thing I alluded to in the beginning. The way it just ended sucked. Like, they just stand there as I'm looking, going, those are terrible belts. Credits roll. I'm like, what? I'm like, what about the car? Where's the after party?
Now you know.
Tanya Roberts back too easy. Right?
Yeah.
And then the little elevator, when he's throwing the flowers on the table, I thought he was going to get decapitated reaching out of that damn thing.
Again, all the plot holes and the production faux pas here. But you know what? I'll give it a nice 7. I'll give it a 6.5 to 7 because of the nostalgia. And we close out, TW holding a 4 horseman, action figure set. That is a nice one. Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Ric Flair, and the Mongo Man himself.
That's for Mongo, man. He's been in the news, so I thought I would show that on the camera.
Prayers to Mongo McMichael fighting ALS. And, he is, just send your prayers to Mongo McMichael. And we close out going to the movies here with Body Slam TW. It was a joy to do a movie thing again. So, I'm going to have to do really some digging for a wrestler in a movie so we can talk about it in the near future.
Frogtown, man.
But no, we're not going to do that. Next week, we're going to do Greatest Rivalries. You know how we started the Greatest Rivalry set with Steamboat and Flair in 1989? I forgot to talk about another great rivalry in 1989, and it involved Ric Flair. So we're going to talk about Terry Funk, Ric Flair, 1989. We're going to talk about the Great American Bashes. We're going to talk about Halloween Havoc, and we're going to talk about the I Quit match. So it's going to be great to talk about a rivalry set between Ric Flair and Terry Funk in 1989. Wonder 9. What do you want to call it? What's 89?
It's 89.
It's just 89.
The noughties and 80s.
Okay.
Awesome 80s.
Awesome 80s.
Awesome 89.
All right, TW, give out those socials so we can get out of here.
All righty then. Big Vito Brand makes it possible for us, so he's at the bigbitobrand.wixsite.com. Also, patreon.com/the Big Vito Brand. Our good man JB, who's still healing up his rectum, at VP1JB.
He must be bleeding out of his ass. I don't know.
Yep. Our show is at PW Reflection. Travis, I'll give you one. Nuts and Bolts PZW. Or no, Bolts is the Z. Nuts and Bolts PW is Travis's Twitter handle if you want to coax him out of retirement. He's a busy man. Our good man Ray is at Big Ray Hernandez. And then I have Instagram and Twitter that are at TommyWonder19. That Twitter is when I argue with people. My Snapchat is #Wonder. My Facebook is facebook.com/TommyWonder. And then my other one is at the Tommy Wonder on Twitter, and that's where I talk about more pop culture stuff and try to keep it clean.
All right.
And the Dum Dum Doing an Idiot YouTube channel. We're going to make a new video soon. He's halfway through his 30-day ban.
I can't wait. I want you to eat this. I want to watch you. Just send me the notification when you're going to eat the fish. I want to watch you eat the fish. Yeah. And shout out to the newest Reflection Night. He actually got to me on the Twitter. Yeah. His Twitter handle is Greenpeace420. So, get all your imagination out the way, TW. He loves weed. So it's Greenpeace420. Shout out to the newest Reflection Night. He got to me. He loves the PWR podcast. He loves the movies. He loves all the shows we do. He can't wait for all the other stuff to... Oh, nice. May the four horsemen be with you. I like that one right there. Good stuff here. So shout out to our newest Reflection Night, Greenpeace420. I hope you will become a long lifer as a Reflection Night. But anyway, my Twitter handle is PWHustle, PROF. That's PWHustle Prof. And of course, follow my guys for the PW Hustle, respectively. Mr. Infinite Fringe himself, Billy Ray Valentine at Obi-Wan, you know me, and of course, the king of the reactions on the PW Hustle YouTube page, A-Track Brown at A-Track Dastly. And next week, Rivalry Edition, Flair and Funk from 1989. We'll see you then next week. I'm the Professor. That's the Iron Stomach one, TW, saying good night and see ya next time, Reflection Nights. Snarl your ass away.